Good day, everyone. We are the group 5 and we are the one who assigned the topic that we are discussing right now, which is the Convention on the Rights of the Child or United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child or CRC or UNCRC. By the way, I'm Alder B. Gonzalez, the one who conduct the first topic of the report. Okay, so before we proceed to the main topic or the main idea on this report or this topic, we should learn first the learning objectives on this topic, which is to know what are the different kinds of the rights of a child in every state parties we are imparting to it. Who is a child under the concept of CRC or UNCRC? So a child means every human being below the age of 18 years unless under the law applicable to the child majority is attained earlier. This statement is part under Article 1 and significantly in all actions concerning children whether undertaken a public or private social welfare institutions, courts of law, administrative authorities or legislative bodies, the best interest of the child shall be a primary consideration. And this statement is part of the Article 3. Okay, so let's proceed to the roles of state parties. State parties shall respect and ensure the rights of each child within their jurisdiction without discrimination of any kind, irrespective of the child. So this part is the primary idea on this part is to have a freedom of the child's rights on what and avoid discrimination of any kind irrespective of the child's. And state parties shall take all appropriate measures to ensure that the child is protected against all forms of discrimination. State parties undertake to ensure the child such protection and care as is necessary for his/her well-being. State parties shall ensure that the institution, service, and facilities responsible for the care or protection of children shall conform with the standards is a part of Article 3. State parties shall undertake all appropriate legislative, administrative, and other measures for the implementation of the rights recognized in the present convention. State parties shall respect the responsibilities, children, and duties of parents, or where applicable, the members of the extended family or community as provided for by local custom, legal guardians, or other person legally responsible for the child. Where a child is illegally deprived of some or all of the elements of his/her identity, state parties shall provide assistance and protection with a view to reestablishing speedily his/her identity. State parties shall ensure that a child shall not be separated from his/her parents against his/her will, except when competent authorities subject to judicial review determine in accordance with applicable law and procedures that such separation to judicial review determine in accordance with applicable law and procedures that such separation is necessary for the best interest of the child. And state parties shall take measures to combat the illicit transfer and non-return of children abroad. State parties shall assure to the child who is capable of forming his/her own views the right to express those views freely in all matters affecting the child. The views of the child will being given due weight in accordance with the age and maturity of the child. The state parties shall use their best efforts to ensure recognition of the principle that both parties have common responsibilities for the upbringing and development of the child. And lastly, state parties shall render appropriate assistance to parents and legal guardians in the performance of their child rearing responsibilities and shall ensure the development of institutions, facilities, and services for the care of children. So those that are being said to the on this report on this topic is was all about the rights of the child or the CRC or UNCRC. And that's all for my report. And let's proceed to the next reporter. Thank you.
So good day, everyone. I am Paz Kakilya. So to continue, rights of the child under the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. So number one, which is the Article 6, every child has the inherent right to life. So this right is inspired by the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. So this right is a human rights treaty that sets out the civil, political, economic, social, health, and cultural rights of children. These rights reflects a commitment to promoting and protecting the rights of children, acknowledging their rights to life and emphasizing the duty of states to create an environment where children can only survive but also thrive and develop to their full potential. So kanang for example, kanang gibuntis pa siya and then dapat dili siya palaglag sa isa ka mama kay maski dili good tanggap nila ay dili niya tanggap ihang pagkabuntis kay as what Article 6 said nga every child has the right to life. Next is every child shall be considered immediately after birth and shall have the right to from birth to a name. So Article 7, this implies that it is a requirement or a recognized practice for every child to be officially recorded or registered shortly after birth. So, inighuman og anak sa isa ka baby is dapat asikasuhon dayon sa both parents para ma-process iyahang birth certificate para ma-recognize siya nga registered siya within this country. Next is every child has the right to preserve his or her identity, including nationality. So these rights emphasize the importance of recognizing and respecting the individuality and inherent dignity of every child. It is a foundational principle in promoting the well-being and development of children within a legal framework that prioritizes their rights and protection. Next is every child who is separated from one or both parents has the right to maintain personal relations and direct contact. So, Article 9 emphasized the importance of maintaining personal relations and direct contact between each child and both parents when they are separated unless it is deemed contrary to the child's best interest. So, for example, pag anak sa isa ka baby is bulag na iyahang mama and papa, and then naagbiha po yung rights ang bata nga makig-contact both sa iyahang parents unless kung ang bata is gusto lang niya manatili sa iyang mama or dili siya gusto mo contact sa iyang papa or dili siya gusto mo contact sa iyahang mama. Number 5, a child whose parents reside in different states shall have the right to maintain on a regular basis. So this idea is often associated with family law and the concept of ensuring that a child has the opportunity to maintain regular and meaningful contact with both parents even if they live in different states. So number 6, every child and his parents have the right to leave any country. So, the right to leave one's own country is generally considered as the right to travel abroad, and the right to return is understood as the right to re-enter one's own country. However, international community recognize the right to freedom of movement. Not all countries fully adhere to these principles in practice. So every child kay na sila or every child or every of his parents kay na ay karapatan na mo live within this country pero dili tanan country mura gina priority gina emphasize nila ni nga law. Number 7 is every child has the right to freedom of expression. So the child shall have the right to freedom of expression. So for example, ang isa ka bata or isa ka children na siya karapatan na magi-participate within sa isa ka community kay as what Article 13 said that every child has the right to freedom of expression. Number 8, every child has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. So, Article 14 of the CRC, or the Convention on the Rights of the Child, specifically address the rights of the child to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This means that children, like adults, have the right to form their own beliefs, thoughts, and religious views. So, kani sila na sila karapatan ang isa ka bata kung asa sila motuo, like adili kung tahay for example sa Christian matuo sila ani and mga beliefs, mga something ano. Number 9, every child has the right to freedom of association and to freedom of peaceful assembly. Children should be able to join together, form associations and assembly specifically to express their opinions, beliefs, or common interests without fear or repression. So, na sila karapatan na mag-apil-apil og mga organizations within the community such as kanang mga activities sa barangay. So, number 10, every child has the right not to be subjected to arbitrary or unlawful interference with his or her privacy, family, home, or correspondence. So, this article emphasizes the importance of safeguarding children from unwarranted intrusions into their personal lives and ensuring that they are protected by law against any form of interference or attacks on their dignity and reputation. So let's move on to Article 20. Every child temporarily or permanently deprived of his or her family environment or in whose own best interest cannot be allowed to remain in that environment. So this article emphasizes the right of every child who is temporarily or permanently deprived of their family environment or for whom it is in their best interest not to remain in the bed to receive a special protection and assistance from the state. Number 12, which is the Article 23, every mentally or physically disabled child has the right to enjoy a full and decent life. So, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child is a key international treaty that addresses the rights of children, including those with disability. Article 23 of the CRC specifically focuses on children with disabilities, stating that a mentally or physically disabled child should enjoy a full and decent life in conditions that ensure dignity, promote self-resilience, and facilitate the child's active participation in the community. Article 23 also emphasize every disabled child has the right to special care. So Article 23 emphasizes the rights of people with disabilities, including children. It recognizes the right to enjoy all human rights and fundamental freedoms on an equal basis with others. So, kani siya, ang isa ka bata is naa siya karapatan na ampingan sila pareha sa kanang paraan ng tagaan o pagtagad within the government or hatagan sila mga health nga mga or something mga medicine mga vitamins. Article 14, so every child has the right to enjoyment of the highest attainable standard of health. So this article emphasized the importance of ensuring the well-being of children and their right to health, encompassing aspects such as medical treatment, rehabilitation, disease prevention, and health education. So let's move on to Article 26. Every child has the right to benefit from Social Security. So this article emphasized the importance of ensuring that every child has access to Social Security measures and social insurance. Social Security typically includes the forms of assistance. So naa sila'y karapatan nga makadawat og mga insurances. Mostly diri asa to ang komunidad karon is sila jud ang ginatagaan og priority pag once nga ang government is manghatag og mga cash assistance kay sila man jud ang dapat natabangan kay because of the members of the PWD or peoples with disability. Number 16, the every child has the right to a standard of living adequate for the his physical, mental, spiritual, moral, and social development. The idea expressed in this article emphasizes the importance of providing children with the necessary conditions for their holistic development, covering physical, mental, spiritual, moral, and social aspects. Next is the Article 28. Every child has the right to education. The statement reflects a commitment to the idea that education is a fundamental right for every child. So, for example, ako karon na ako'y karapatan na paeskwelahon ko sa kuwang parents. Kaya as what the article said, that every child has the right to education. Article 30, in those states in which ethnic, religious, or linguistic minorities or persons of indigenous origin exist. So, this article emphasizes the significance of cultural diversity and the rights of individuals from minority or indigenous backgrounds to maintain their distinct identities within the broader societies. It reflects a commitment to promoting inclusivity and respecting the diversity of cultures, religions, and languages within a given state. So, for example, if ang bata is belong na siya sa ata na tribe, so dili dapat siya i-discriminate or dapat halagahan jud ilahang culture. Article or Number 19. Every child has the right to rest and leisure to engage in a play and recreational activities. This article emphasizes the importance of recognizing and respecting children's need for leisure and play as integral components of their development. So let's move on to Article 31. Every child has the right to participate fully in culture and artistic life. So the emphasis is recognizing and promoting the child's right to engage in various activities that contribute to the cultural and artistic development, ensuring that these opportunities are provided equally and appropriate. So, as what I have said earlier, na maski unsa imuhang tribo or unsa imuhang culture pag anak nimo is dapat naa Japon sila karapatan na i-promote ilahang culture without discrimination. Article 32, every child has the right to be protected from economic exploitation and performing any work that is likely to be hazardous. So this article emphasizes the importance of protecting child from economic exploitation and ensuring that they are not engaged in work that could be hazardous or detrimental for their well-being and development. So ang child ang isa ka bata is naa sila'y karapatan na protektahan sa isa ka government para maiwasan nga maka-appeal sila ng mga makadaot sa ilahang life. The last is the Article 40. Every child alleged as accused of and recognized as having infringed the penal law as the right to be treated in a manner consistent with the promotion of the child's sense, dignity, and worth. So this article emphasized the importance of treating children alleged or accused of having committed a crime in a manner that upholds their dignity and reinforces their respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. This includes recognizing that children, due to their age and level of maturity, may require special safeguards and legal measures. So, for example, parehaan ng kanang below 18 years old nga nakakommit og crime, so dili pa sila pwede nga mapreso kay naaman sa law na bawal jud presohon ang mga minor de edad under the juvenile justice system. So that's it. Thank you for listening.
Good day, everyone, especially to you, sir. I am Rauli Tuluon. My top This is my assigned topic. State parties shall take all appropriate measures to ensure that children of working parents have the right to benefit from childcare services and facilities for which they are eligible. So, in Article 18, dapat ang usa ka bata nga magtrabaho together with parents nga makadawat siya og childcare. Dili nga nang ginapasagdan lang, dapat imo gyud siyang atimanon. Next is state parties shall take all appropriate legislative, administrative, social, education measures to protect the child from all forms of physical or mental violence, injury or abuse, neglect or negligence, treatment, maltreatment, or exploitation, including sexual abuse, while in the care of parents, legal guardians, or any persons who has the care of child. So in Article 819, nag-form siya og physical or mental violence injury ng mga pag-abuso sa atong mga bata. Sa Article 18 is mao ni siya ang mga kahatag og protection sa atong mga kabata from physical and mental violence or injury or pag-abuso. Next is state parties shall take appropriate measures to ensure that a child who is seeking refuge status or who is considered a refugee or in accordance with applicable international and domestic law and procedures shall whether accompanied by parents by person receive appropriate protection and humanitarian assistance in the enjoyment rights for convention and the international human rights and humanitarian instrument. So that is Article 22. State parties shall promote in the spirit of international cooperation and exchange of appropriate information in the field of preventive health care and medical, psychological, and functional treatment of disabled children. So, in Article 23, is nag-promote siya og Spirit International Corporation in the field of healthcare, medical, treatment, or kanang mga disabled children. Next is state parties shall take all appropriate measures including legislative, administrative, social, and educational measures to protect children from the illicit use of narcotic, drugs, and psychotropic substances as defined in the relevant international treaties and prevent the use of children in the illicit production or trafficking of such substances. So, ang Article 33 is nag-kuan siya og protection sa mga kabatan-on mga bata na malayo sa mga drugs, mga di maayo nga makadaot sa mga bata. So, muna ang focus ni Article 33. Next is Article 34. State parties undertake to protect the child from all forms of sexual exploitation and sexual abuse. So that is the Article 34. So we are the example of Article 34, the inducement or coercion of a child to engage in any unlawful sexual activity. B is the exploitative use of children and prostitution or the usual practice in the exploitative use of children and pornographic performance and materials. And next is state parties shall take all appropriate national, bilateral, and multilateral measures to prevent the abduction of the sale of the traffic in children for any purposes or in any forms. This is Article 35. Nagaprevent siya og abduction and nagasale of traffic in children. Nagatudlo siya ginatudluan kung unsa ang mga traffic rules or traffic sign. Next is in Article 36, state parties shall protect the child against all other forms of exploitation prejudicial to any aspect of the child welfare. So, nagaprotect siya sa child. Ang Article 36 is nagafocus sa protection sa child against all forms of exploitative and children. Next, state parties shall ensure that no child shall be subjected to torture or other cruel, inhuman, degrading treatment or punishment. So, nagafocus siya dapat walay bata nga maabuso sa maabuso. No child shall be deprived of his her liberty unlawfully and arbitrarily. Every child deprived of liberty shall treated with humanity and respect of the inherent dignity of human person in a manner which takes into account a needs person of his age. So dapat dili kaingon bata lang siya, dili na siya pareha sa tuwa ug mga dili lahi baba atong pagtan-aw sila ha. Dapat kung unsa ata maupod sila, dapat the same rules. Dili magmatter kung unsay imong edad, mabata man ang matigulang, dapat same lang gid. Every child deprived of his her liberty shall have the right to prompt access to legal and other appropriate assistance, as well as the right to challenge of the deprivation of his liberty before a court or other competent, independent and impartial authority, and to prompt decisions of any such action. So that is Article 37. Article. Next is state parties undertake to respect and ensure respect for rules of international and humanitarian law applicable to them and armed conflicts which are relevant to the child. State parties shall take all feasible measures to ensure that persons who have not attained the age of 15 years do not take a direct part in hostilities. State parties shall refrain from recruiting any person who has not attained the age of 15 years into their armed forces, and recruiting those persons who have attained of age of 15 years old but who have not attained the age of 18 years. They shall endeavor to give priority to those who are oldest. So, mas priority ang 18 years old sa 15 years old yun. Kaya 15 years old is minor. Ang 18 years old is oldest na siya or pasado na siya. So si 18 years old mo siya ang mas dakong priority. State parties shall take all appropriate measures to promote physical and psychological recovery and social reintegration of child victims of any form of neglect, exploitation, or abuse, torture, or any other form of cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment or punishment or armed conflicts. That is Article 8. Nagapromote siya og physical and psychological recovery on child victim. And Article 40, state parties shall seek to promote the establishment of laws, procedures, authorities, and institutions specifically applicable to children alleged as accused of recognized as having infringed the penal law. So in Article 14 is nag-promote sa establishment of laws, ang mga procedures or authorities sa institution nga applicable sa mga bata dapat ma-align siya and ma-recognize po siya in the penal law. So that's all of my part. Thank you and God bless.
So, good day everyone. I am Heaven Mayodaya and now I will discuss the rules of mass media. So, the mass media shall ensure that the child has access to information and material from a diversity of national and international sources, especially those aimed at the promotion of his or her social, spiritual, and moral well-being and physical and mental health. So, ang rules sa mass media is ma-ensure na ang child is na siya access sa information and kung unsa ang mga needs from different sources within national or international sources, especially sa mga organization na nagapromote and protect sa rights sa mga bata. So, one of the organization na nagapromote and protect sa rights sa mga bata is ang Child Hope Philippines Foundation. So first is to encourage the mass media to disseminate information and material of social and cultural benefit to the child. Encourage international cooperation in the production, exchange, and dissemination of such information and material from a diversity of cultural, national, and international sources. So ang rules sa mass media is to inform, educate, and entertain. So, gina-highlight sa mass media ang issues. Next. So, next is the rules of state parties on child adoption. So, ensure that the adoption of a child is authorized only by competent authorities who determine in accordance with applicable law and procedures and on the basis of all pertinent and reliable information that the adoption is permissible in view of the child's status concerning parents, relatives, and legal guardians, and that, if required, the persons concerned have given their informed consent to the adoption of the basis of such counseling as may be necessary. So, ang important rules sa state party sa child adoption is by establishing legal frameworks. So, moagi pa dapat og legal process ang adoption of a child. Ang ma-ensure ang best interest sa bata. Also to prevent trafficking. And naga-facilitate pod ang state parties og inter-country adoption process. So, ang inter-country adoption process, it is the process by which you adopt a child from a diversity country through permanent legal means and bring that child to your country of residence to live with you permanently. Next is to recognize the inter-country adoption. So, mao ni siya ang inter-country adoption process. So next. Last is, what is the purpose of the Committee on the Rights of the Child? So the purpose of the committee is to examine the progress made by state parties in achieving the realization of the obligation undertaken in the UNCRC. The committee is a body of 18 independent experts that monitors implementation of the Convention on the Rights of the Child. So, ang purpose sa Committee on the Rights of the Child, they monitor the implementation of the Convention on the Rights of the Child. They are ensuring that nations uphold children's rights like protection, education, and healthcare. So, note, World Children's Day is celebrated every November 20, as it is the date in 1959 when the UN General Assembly adopted the Declaration of the Rights of the Child. It is also in 1989 when the UN General Assembly adopted the Convention on the Rights of the Child. And that's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, my name is Jover Bisalabre and I will continue the report of the two protocols for the protection of children. First protocol, the optional protocol, the Convention on the Rights of the Children on the Involvement of Children in Armed Conflict or Child Soldiers ka na mga pag-involve sa mga bata na mag-appeal sa mga military service, mga anak. What is the function of the Child Soldier Treaty? The United Nations General Assembly adopted the treaty as a supplementary protocol to the Convention on the Rights of the Child by Resolution of 54/263 on May 25, 2000. The protocol came into force on February 12, 2002. Purpose of the Child Soldier Treaty: prohibit the conscription into the military officially under the age of 16. Kanang gina-prohibit nilang kaning pagdawato kaning children under of the age of 18 sa military service. Ensure that military recruits are not younger than 16. Yes kato. Mga ang pag-recruit sa military is kanang dili dapat kanang younger than 16. And prevent recruits age 16 or 17 from taking a direct prevent recruits age 16 or 17 from taking a direct part in hostilities and the treaty also forbids non-state armed groups from recruiting anyone under the age of 18 for any purpose. Kato yung niya, kato prohibit ka ng pag-recruit ng mga nothing over 16 kato. Next is, when is special protection required? Special protection is provided by state parties if persons under the age of 18 years old were voluntarily recruited into their national armed forces. Safeguard by states parties. State parties that permit voluntary recruitment into their national armed forces under the age of 18 years shall maintain safeguards to ensure is a minimum that such recruitment is genuinely voluntary. Kani siya is kanang in-ensure na ang pag-recruitment is walay pinagsanay, dapat ka na willing mag-volunteer na mag-serve sa military service. Such recruitment is carried out, and number 2, such recruitment is carried out with the informed consent of the person's parent or legal guardians ka na. Dapat ka na ay parent consent. Sa tapadre is parent consent na nagapatuod na gisugton sila na pag-volunteer. Such persons are fully informed of the duties involved in such military service. O kanang mga nag-volunteers dapat kaning fully informed sila sa mga duties na ginahimo sa military service. And such persons provide reliable proof of age prior to acceptance into the national military service. Ko kato. For example, kaning birth certificate dapat na mag-provide sa ingana kay para for proof na legal age na sila or in legal age na sila. Can a state party denounce the present protocol? Yes, any state party may denounce the present protocol at any time by written notification to the Secretary General of the United Nations, who shall thereafter inform the other states parties to the convention and all states that have signed the convention. When is the effective effectivity of the denunciation. The denunciation shall take effect 1 year after the date of receipt of the notification by Secretary General. If, however, on expiry of the year, the denunciating state party is engaged in armed conflict, the denunciation shall not take effect before the end of the armed conflict. Second protocol, the optional protocol on the sale of children, child prostitution, and child pornography, or OPCS. Kani siya OPCS is kaning protocol siya to the Convention on the Rights of the Children that requires parties to prohibit the sale of children, child, child prostitution, and child pornography. And kani siya is na-adapt siya and open for signature, ratification, and accession by General Assembly Resolution on May 25, 2000 and was entered into force on January 18, 2002. What is meant by sale of children is kani siya is nagameans siya na act of transaction whereby a child is transferred by any persons or group of persons to another for remuneration of any other consideration like kaning ginabligyan nila para pagsilbihan sa dito mo kanang imong sila kanang slave dito ana. What is meant by child prostitution? Kaya siya gani minsan is kanang pag-involve sa mga bata na pag-involve sa mata sa mga sexual activities for remuneration or any other form of consideration. What is meant by child pornography is kani siya is means any representation by whatever means of a childish engagement mapatinod man or simulated explicit sexual activities or any representation of the sexual parts of a children for primarily sexual purpose. In Article 2. Role of state parties to persons' involvement in the implementation of OPCS ensures appropriate training, in particular legal and psychological training, for the persons who work with victims of the offenses prohibited under the present protocols. Adopt measures in order to protect the safety and integrity of those persons or organizations involved in the prevention and/or protection and rehabilitation of victims of such offenses na in Article 8 na siya. Why should be primarily considered by the state parties criminal justice system in connection to PCS. State parties shall ensure that in the treatment by the criminal justice system of children who are victims of the offenses described in the present protocol, the best interest of the child shall be a primary consideration. And that's all. Thank you.